good, everybody? Welcome to Confidently Humble. With my brothers here, we're just gonna talk about life, talk about growing up, being in this world as young men. We just want to be as natural, authentic. We just want to relate to you guys, and we just want to keep it as real as possible. So, I'm Justin.
Jaden,
Jordan,
I'm 23.
18.
21.
So we each just basically just gonna talk about a little bit how we grew up, what we got going on right now, what we're trying to be, and we'll just flow from there. So you want to start, Jordan?
Yeah. So what's going on, everybody? So, like you said, my name is Jordan. Growing up, we all in Connecticut right now. So that's born and raised. I'm born and raised in Connecticut. Sadly. Yeah. Every time, people always ask like, "Where's Connecticut?" They always know New York, but never Connecticut. It's crazy. But
shout out New York though.
Facts, New York. But a little bit about my life, right? Grew up in Connecticut, and ever since I was growing up, we were just raised differently. Just being in a household with parents who fear God is definitely a blessing, I would say. But growing up, it was definitely hard for myself, growing up in school, because I was just different. I didn't feel like I fit in, really, because I saw a lot of people doing a lot of things, and knowing the word of God, a lot of times you're convicted. Holy Spirit will convict you. And even though at that time I didn't know it was the Holy Spirit, I knew that something in me was telling me, to do differently. So basically growing up, I felt like I didn't really fit in going through middle school, high school, right? I definitely felt like I was an outcast in school, and that led me to basically doing a lot of things, trying to get approval from a lot of people, and it was all just lies that Satan was telling me in my head.
Why do you feel like you're out?
Because a lot of people were just doing like a lot of things that we knew not to do. They didn't know really.
Like, what were some of those things that made you feel like you were outcast?
I mean, one of the things from when I was young, bro, like we weren't raised to like really just swear or curse, stuff like that. Like that was one of the things that really got to me, like, because people were just using it all the time. It was natural, and I was like, dang, so me not cursing, that kind of made me feel like I was kind of separated. I was different. And then, progressing, going on to high school, you see people doing all different types of stuff, smoking, all that type of stuff, like doing all that different stuff. So that just made me, that was kind of like a gateway, an entrance where the enemy kind of, I got into my life. And from there, right, I definitely went down a bad path for a little bit of time. Thank God that now, I'm better, and God brought me out of that. But that's what I feel like a lot of time, I don't know if it's with y'all, but Satan will use like little stuff like that where you feel like it's kind of something. It starts from when you're young. You feel like you're either the rejection or fear. He'll use all these little things while we're young to plant a seed for later on to try to get to. I don't know if y'all could relate with that. Yeah, but
So, are you gonna keep going with me?
you could go. Yeah, you could.
Alright, so same thing. I grew up in Connecticut too. I'm the middle child. It's Justin, Jordan, then me. I'm in the middle, and then Johnny's the 13-year-old, and then Janae, she's 6. But I grew up in Connecticut too. I was fine. Like, so for me, being the middle child, I always had Justin and Jordan to look up to. So Justin, he was always the one that my parents were using as "don't do this." Like, he was the bad example basically. But like, he was just learning because he's the oldest, so he had to make those mistakes first so that we could learn from that. And then Jordan was always the one that my parents were like, "Okay, be more like Jordan." He did everything that he was supposed to do. He was doing chores without them having to tell him to, stuff like that. So in the middle, me being the middle child, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do what Jordan's doing and listen to my parents, make sure I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to be doing. And then as I got older, I was just following that. I was fine. I didn't really have any problem. And then freshman year of high school, I went to a private school, Hamden Hall in Hamden, Connecticut, and that was fine too. It was fun, but then I transferred sophomore year. I live in the upper area of Connecticut now. And but that school, it was predominantly white, and I was like one of the only 2 black kids there probably. So it was different. I felt like the outcast, like Jordan was saying.
I was the only black kid in my
grade. He
grade.
was the only black kid.
It's crazy.
I was 1 and 2. The other one, he was like half white, half black. So he wasn't really black. I was the only black kid. But yeah, so in that school, I was trying to still. I was never the type to try to like fit in. I was always fine with like being myself, like not having that many friends. But it just felt weird because you constantly felt people looking at you because you're the only black kid and it's just white people there. So you constantly felt that pressure of like, oh my gosh, I gotta like not do anything that they wouldn't do. And then so I went there sophomore year, and then end of sophomore year, that's when COVID happened. So junior year, I was fully online, and I just isolated myself completely because I was online. I didn't really have to do anything. Football, we didn't even have a season. We had like 2 passing league games, 7-on-7, and then that was it. And then senior year, that's where a lot of the stuff happened, where the devil was really trying to tempt me. So senior year, because of COVID, I didn't have a football season in Connecticut, so I transferred down to Orlando, Florida. It was called St. Cloud, that high school. And I was a new kid, so I had everybody like, oh my gosh, all the girls were after me, everything. So that was really tempting. Senior year of high school, and I was in Florida. I was in a whole new state. I moved down there. So for the plan was I was gonna stay down there with my aunt and my uncle for the whole year, but then some stuff happened, personal problems and stuff. So I ended up moving out of their house around like, I went down there June 12th of 2021. I moved out like October 29th, I want to say, 2021. So a couple months I was with them. So then I moved out into an apartment basically by myself. It was like this Spanish couple, but they were never home, so I was just there by myself. And then yeah, the devil was trying to tempt me with stuff like females, sex, all that stuff. Trying to make me feel like I was abandoned because my aunt and my uncle, I relied on them. Not relied on them, but like I thought I could trust them, and then they just let me go. Stuff like that. So that's when the enemy, he just tries to play on that, try to tell you like, oh, you're worthless, they don't care about you, stuff like that. So that was really hard at that time. But
and that's important too for people to hear, because there's a lot of people, young people out there, especially athletes, like jumping around place to place right now, like in the portal, going places they don't really know, across the states, down, up the states. So for them to hear that too is important, because athletes are going through that all over the world, where they just have to jump around different places and they're trying to chase their dream, make something shake out of basically nothing or whatever they're given. So it's important, like that you said that. I feel like.
I mean, we didn't even give the background, but I played football.
Yeah, and we all played sports so growing up. Like, I played basketball, football growing up, and did a little bit of track, and then James football, Justin football too, and basketball. So we all like have that background from, it's competitive. We're very competitive, and we definitely, that was a key part of our childhood and our,
yeah. So the whole point of me going down to Florida was to play football. Like it was just for that. And then school was like in the back of my mind, but I still had good grades and stuff. And then so the season was fine. I was like a star player and everything. So the enemy also tried to come through with that, like all the popularity, all that stuff. He could try to make it get to your head. So football season ended, and that's when I really felt like lonely and bored, because football was like my only way to like escape all that other stuff, all the other thoughts that the enemy tries to put in your head. So you could kind of get distracted with that on the football field. You just forget about all that stuff. But then once football is gone and you're out of season, then that's when all the thoughts start coming back in your head. But so then I got a girlfriend when I was down there, and we were dating for the whole senior year of high school. But I think the number one thing that kept me like away from really getting into some serious trouble with the enemy and stuff was I constantly made attempts to like try to stay in God's presence by going to Orlando, a church called Live Orlando. That was Todd Tribbett. He's a famous gospel artist. But he had a church in Orlando, so I would take this like 30-minute drive, try to go to his church just to hear what he was talking about, all of his sermons and stuff that he was giving, and I would still try to read my word. My parents gave us this 1-year Bible, so it's like the Bible split up into different days, so each day you're reading throughout the whole Bible, and eventually you'll get to the end. So I was still trying to read that, meditate on that while I was down there. For that stuff, because if I wasn't doing that, if I wasn't attempting to still stay close to God, I think it would have been way worse than what it was. But so I graduated down there, and then I got a couple offers for football, and then now I'm in Miami at St. Thomas University. I play football there. But that's a little bit of my background. Like throughout I'm in college now. Freshman.
So my turn, I guess. So like you said, basically I'm the oldest out of 5. So it was me, basically trying to set the example, and I just had to, you know, as like you're the oldest child, you go through everything first. You experience everything first. The punishments are worse because it's the first time for everything happening. Like, so just growing up, I'm just getting in trouble all the time.
Always.
I'm just getting in trouble all the time, just doing stuff all the time. I know that my parents wouldn't approve of, but like I just wanted to. I was never like elementary school, middle school, high school. I was never like outcast. Like I was just always like in that, like, I guess you would say, like, popular type of crowd. So like I was just, you know, trying to fit in. Most of the time growing up, didn't really. I had self identity, but at the same time I didn't. And that's kind of weird to say, but like I feel like it was just like split half and half. Like I knew who I was, but at the same time I was just doing things that wasn't me. Like wasn't things that I knew like things that I knew that I shouldn't be doing. So like that was kind of the struggle for me growing up. It was kind of like I would be outside, you know, you're outside, and then you come back in the house and you kind of flip a switch, like just to like show face basically. So that's kind of how it was for me a lot of my life. But I didn't really get good at sports really until like I would say probably like my junior year of high school. That's kind of when I grew. So then that's kind of when my talent, I guess, kind of came. I mean, the work ethic was always there. Like if I wanted something, I was just gonna work to like just try to be good at it. But like it really came as me being good at sports, which I wanted to pursue. Like I said, like my junior year of high school, I had a few offers coming out of high school, but my coaches, you know, like kind of really didn't push like for us to get recruited at the time. So it was kind of like me just taking it on by myself and trying to get myself recruited. I really didn't know much about the process. I didn't come from a family of athletes. So I ended up going to UConn, and I went as a walk-on, and I ended up making the team. Had a scholarship at one point. It was really tough, you know, like having to be a walk-on. That whole process was just like a lot, I would say. But everybody, you know, on the team accepted me, like, and I was just at that point I became like very good, I would say, at football. So like again, it was me just getting sucked into like the popular crowd again. Like I'm a Division I athlete. Like it's just so many temptations everywhere, especially when you play a sport in college. Like you just have so many like temptations, and I was just basically doing everything that I wanted to do. I would still pray when I needed God, and it was when I needed Him, that's when I would pray. And we've all been there. We go like just keeping it real. Like you get real drunk one day, like God, please, like, if you just allow me to just like be sober right now, like I'm not gonna drink again. Like that's how like the type my relationship with God was at that point, which is like really bad now that I'm looking back on it. But like that's how it was. Like I would just pray to God when I needed something before a game, like God, please don't let me get hurt. Allow me to be safe as I play. Allow me not to break anything. Like, I knew when to pray to God, but I would put Him on the back burner at any other point. I wasn't praying every night. I wasn't reading my word. I knew I needed to do those things, but I just wasn't doing them because it was just so many distractions, so many temptations, and I just wasn't putting my flesh behind me and just allowing God to like renew my mind at that point. So it was a lot that kind of like transpired and led up to that point of me being in college. But yeah, so
yeah, I definitely like what you like. I agree with what you said before about when you were drinking and then you were praying to God, like please, because that definitely happened to me. You know, let's talk about it for real though. Like with me, God is so faithful though to you that you always have a moment in your life, right, where you're not with Him at all, but He'll still find a way to get you back.
Yeah.
Like I remember one specific time, like I said, going into high school, you know, I was just starting to separate from God and try to just please people. Really, like I was trying to that rejection, right, kind of caught up to me, and I was trying to, you know, mask that behind fitting in with people. And so one day I got into smoking weed around freshman or actually sophomore year of high school. I started doing that, right, and it literally just starts with one simple thing, like, come on, bro, they peer pressure me into doing it, like you're not gonna do it, whatever. So I did it, and then that just led to different things. And so that just goes to show like how one thing can change a lot. But one day I was driving home, right, and I was really like I had a dab pen at the time. And so one thing about dab pens is that
You can't hit that too much.
you can't hit it too much. And one day I was in the jazz band, you know, I was playing saxophone, right? And I took a hit before I went to the jazz band. And then after it, here's the thing though, like I was cool, right? I was playing faded and everything, but then after jazz band was over, right? I got into the car and I took another big hit, like I'm talking about like 20 seconds probably, something like that. And this is the thing though, I had multiple occurrences before where I was like, you know, God, please, if you get me out of this, I won't do it.
Yeah,
but this time, what happened, I was driving, right? And you know how there's 2 lanes on the road? There was 4 lanes on the road when I was driving. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. There was 4 lanes. And the cars was coming. There's a car coming this way, but it looked like there was multiple cars coming my way. I was like, God, please, if you get me out of this high right now, I promise I will never do this again. Instantly, I kid you not, instantly I was snapped out of the high. And from that point, I never smoked again. Also, you know, it added on, my parents found my dab pen too, so that helped too. But like, I never smoked again from that point because like God just showed me like he's so faithful to us, even when we're in the wrong, like he still loves us that much to do things for us. Mm-hmm. And to get him, that's how much his love is, to get us close to him. So I definitely agree with that. Like if you're going through something like that, like, bruh, listen to the signs that God has given you. He's gonna give you signs. He's gonna give you chances to get out of what you're going through, but you gotta listen. That's a big thing, bro.
Nah, go ahead.
Nah, I was just gonna say that's one reason why I just never even tried to get into that stuff. I never even got peer pressure because I knew like once you do it one time, you can get addicted. So I never smoked before. I never drank to get drunk before. Like I only sipped one thing one time. It was this green apple stuff, bro. It was disgusting. It burned my throat. I was like, never again.
That burned,
bro. Let's talk about that though, because that's so common especially in our world, in our society today. Like
for him, because you kind of say like.
Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about like drugs and drinking. That's so common in this world, but a lot of times when people are doing it, you're not doing it just because you love it. Like you're doing it to escape something. That's the biggest thing.
Escape something, or you feel me? It's just the environment that you're putting yourself in, where you need to, like, you go into the club, like, all right, we gonna pregame before we go to the club, before we go to the party. Like, you're not doing it because you just want to sit around and just like, feel me? You're doing it because you want to. That's just how the devil like uses his tactics. Like, you're not doing, like you said, like you're not doing something because you just want to do it. When you get to that point, that's because you've done it multiple times. Like, that's why you have a crave to do it. I need to drink, I need to smoke. Like, it's because you've been doing it for so long that now it's just like it's become manifested in you. Like, so you feel like you need to do that all the time.
Exactly, and
that's one thing.
Nah, I was about to just say, like, it's important. That's what we're gonna be doing in this podcast, is breaking down a lot of the enemy's tactics, because a lot of what he does is so common to people, but everything that you do in this world has a spiritual effect. And you gotta be so cautious to the environment you place yourself around and the people, what you choose to engage in, because that has a direct spiritual result that will affect you.
And putting, like, that's a big thing, like, where you put yourself. Like, it's so many times, like, people will just ask me to go out or like go somewhere, and I'm just like, all right, bro. Like, I think about it for a second. I'm like, if I really go and do this right now, that's gonna lead to this, and this. Like, that's how I think now. Before I wasn't thinking like that, but now I'm really careful because I see how careful I have to be with my own spirit and like from me personally, the things that I've gone through. I know that the devil instantly try to come back just like this. So it's really important, like, you just be mindful of like where you put yourself, who you go out with. Like, those type of things are really important.
Yeah. And that's another thing that just come in.
That how are we gonna
come say hi? This is our father. Just come to say hi.
You want to come in here, now you gotta say hi.
Yeah, you know. Alright,
like they were saying, that's another thing our parents always told us when we were younger. just be mindful of who you hang around and like who you surround yourself with, because a lot of the things that the people around you say that could start to get into your mindset and like what you're thinking in your subconscious and stuff, and then eventually you'll find yourself doing stuff that you never thought you're gonna want to do, like drugs and like sex and all that other stuff. If people around you are constantly talking about that stuff, then eventually it's just gonna become second nature to you, and you're gonna start thinking like that too. But that was just what I had to say about it.
And this honestly is like, alright, this is our dad.
What's up?
This is Greg.
What's going on?
Gregory.
That's also his name too.
No, it's not.
That's
That's my middle name.
What's your full name?
Oh, you're probably trying to put the government on camera. That's crazy.
Yeah, feds watching. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say, like, you gotta just like I feel like the environment for our generation is just so important. It's like if you really think about, and we're saying all this in hopes of you trying to change the way you think, and this is only for people who want to be free of the things they're struggling with. If you just want to keep on going through everything you're struggling with, or act like you have nothing going wrong in your life, then like what we're saying is not important to you. Just keep on living your life the way that you want to live it. But this is for the people who want to have God in their life, who want to be a kingdom citizen, who want to be able to make it to heaven, who want to still enjoy the natural things in life as well as spiritual things. But we're not really talking to people who just want to do if you want to just keep on like going out and doing those things, like that's totally up to you. But we're gonna give advice and things that to show you the tactics, the way of the devil, how he tries to come in for the people who want to change their mindset, change their heart, receive spiritual blessings from heaven. We're gonna talk about all this, but yeah, I just want to put that up.
Yeah, facts. And if anyone's watching has any suggestions, anything you feel like you would like us to talk about, just definitely comment it. Like, drop it in the comments what y'all want us to go over, because we're definitely open to everything that y'all have to say.
What would you guys say is like I guess like the strongest struggle that people in our generation struggle with in private? And I say in private because we have social media. Everybody act like everything is fine.
I say
So what is
either-
like the strongest thing like people have to guard up and like struggle with in private?
I say either lust
Lust, that's
or,
what I'm about to say.
or like jealousy and like comparing yourself. And I
Yeah.
say lust because
Yo, let's start with lust. What is lust? What would you say? For people who don't understand what lust is?
So lust, well, in its essence, lust is a spirit. But I would say I've had a lot of dealings with lust because that's really what the enemy attacked me with, right? And so yeah, lust is a spirit. And so when you think of everything in the kingdom, right? There's two kingdoms: the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light, right? But there's also what Satan does is he always loves to pervert what God creates, right? So God created love, all right? But Satan created lust. He didn't create anything new. He just perverted what God created, which was love. So a lot of people are searching for love, or they're trying to find this, right? This and that. But if you don't have God, you're never going to find love, because God is love.
But they equate love with sex. So
Yeah,
that's why
exactly.
they're
But
mixing up love with lust.
and that's what's important, right? If you don't have the right definition of what something is, that sets up shop for Satan to come into your life, and you might not even know it. Stuff like that. Like, that's why it's so important to know the truth of what a thing is. That's what I thought love was too, bro. Like, be honest. Like, we all thought, at first love was sex, making love in the bed, everything like that.
Or
Like,
not even that. You thought that if somebody love you, they gotta have sex with you. Like that was another thing that a lot of people think. Like somebody love you, that's something that you guys have, because that's just how
Facts.
society makes it seem.
Yeah.
Or not even that. It could go either way, because you could think like a lot of people in our generation just think like we don't want no feelings attached. We just gonna have
Yeah.
sex. Like that's it.
But
Yeah.
And they don't understand, bro.
sometimes
Like,
everything.
what's like happening during that interaction. I'm the first one, like I had to come to realization, because I seen a lot of things like especially when I went to college. But like, feel me, I wasn't no saint. Like I was seeing pretty girls. I'm trying to see what that be like you feel me? So I wasn't like, I was in a bad like mindset. Like I was just lusting after girls, like not really trying to be in anything committed. And when I was still not committed, so and it was from lust. I couldn't control myself because I was just in such a perverted mindset where I just thought that was just how that's just how life is. Like, I can just do this, no consequences, nothing's gonna happen, and you don't even know the portals that you're opening up and the soul ties that you're getting from having sex and what you're doing to that girl. Because if you really think about it, bro, when you have sex with somebody now, David, Tom, Phil, George, whoever she had been with before you, all those, she's carrying all that. If she hasn't been through deliverance and hasn't been released spiritually from those soul ties, she's carrying all
or that
people.
guy too, the same thing.
Yeah,
Goes for
or
both
for a
people.
guy, it's the same exact thing. You're carrying all that. You're carrying Sarah, Brittany, all these people into that girl. And that's why you think like it doesn't matter like when you just have sex with somebody, but you're carrying baggage. And I learned from a very good Pastor Darby. You guys should watch his videos. But for women, even more, like, and I know it's touchy, like, women, don't talk, you're a guy, you shouldn't be judging women, you shouldn't be talking, but it's the way he explained it, which I thought was very important, is that when a man enters a woman, you're basically giving your DNA to that woman. So once a woman has like multiple sex partners as well as a man, the DNA is being entered into that woman. And now each person, like I said, is attached to her.
Literally in her bones.
In
right?
her
It's
bones, in her body. And it's literally like a lot of women are becoming schizophrenic. And don't think about it as like schizophrenic, like mental hospital. It's a demon, it's a spirit. And if you look up the word schizophrenia, there's a lot of different meanings to that. But she slowly, because of all that DNA and all the different spiritual things going on, the spirit of schizophrenia, as Pastor Darby was saying, is one of the main things that tries to take over a woman's mind when sexual intercourse is happening. So as women, just be very like careful like with who you allow to enter you. That's supposed to be a special and sacred thing for your husband, and you just have to be very careful. The same thing with men, but I'm saying women, you guys are preyed on more, like you guys are pressured more to do this. So I would say just keep that in mind.
That's a very important thing. Like, I would say with me too, like how lust got in with me, and it all came, like I said before, kind of with the youth, you know, in your childhood. That's when Satan likes to really attack you. That's why a lot of grown-ups today, like a lot of people are grown, they still got problems from childhood trauma. Like, keep it simple. That's really what it is. And for me, lust came from the root of rejection, right? So I felt rejected. You know, I couldn't fit in. And then the devil lied to me, said I was never gonna find love, or I'd never find, you know, someone to love me and stuff like that. And that all led to me, you know, starting to lust and then getting into porn, which is a whole nother thing, like, and perversion, all that type of stuff. But it just goes to show how one little thing, you might not think it's a lot, but one decision can alter the course of your life greatly. So you gotta be so careful with what you choose to engage in. And that's why you gotta always seek the Holy Spirit that guides you. You gotta always, you know, have him guiding you, because Satan is he's real crafty. He's real crafty.
And even while we're on lust too, like I know like a lot of people are like, oh, if you guys are really going by the Bible, like you guys can't do anything until you're married. Like if you take it day by day and you really just try to you know, be in God's presence every day, let God lead your life, he's gonna give you the grace to be able to wait. Like your mind, the only reason you think like that is because your mind is perverted. Honestly, that's the only reason, because I was thinking like that until my mind wasn't perverted. Like once your mind is not perverted and all that stuff is not just floating around in your head all the time, and it's not in your heart, and you've been cleansed of those lustful and sexual like demons, then you'll be it won't be something that's always on your mind, and that won't be a question of like, how can I wait this long? Because God's gonna give you the grace, and you'll have so much other stuff going on that you're not gonna think about that really. So
to add on to that, I've been like, when that was happening, I was just ask God, like, give me a complete distaste for any of that stuff, like looking at women sexually like that until marriage. because I don't want my mind to be so perverted like that, where I'm constantly, every time I see a female that looks good, I'm like, oh my gosh, sex, stuff like that. So I just ask God, like, just give me a complete distaste, so that anytime I even think about that, I just feel sick, stuff like that, because I don't want my mind to be like that at all.
And it's important to know that there, like, another thing, like, Pastor Darby is so good. Like, you have to understand, like, once you have, like, sex with somebody, like, there are sins, but he said that there are also sins that count for more. Like, every sin is a sin, but there's a lot of more demons that come with certain sins that you commit. So sex is one of those. Sex is one of those sins that comes with a lot, and it's because it's supposed to be a covenant between a man and woman when they're married. So that's just something that God has put in place, where if you do that, you're opening yourself up to a lot of doors. So you just have to be, like, very careful, especially with sex. And you don't understand, you may not do nothing to you right now, but sexual, like, sin, you'll wonder why, as a woman, when you get older, you can't get pregnant, why you may have a miscarriage, why you have certain disease, why you have certain things going on as a man, why you have prostate cancer, why you have why you can't function right from your legs down, or just all different. There's a lot of natural things that come from sex because it's a physical interaction. So you have to be very careful. Like, just don't think about right now and in the moment. Think about your body and your life for the long term, because there's a lot that will come from you not abstaining.
And all of these things can be avoided, right, by knowing and understanding the word of God, right? In Psalms 119 verse 11 says, that word that I've hid in my heart that I might not sin against you. How will you know what not to sin against if you don't have it in your heart? Exactly. You gotta have that in your heart, because when you take heed to his word, right, and like it says in the word, he's going to cleanse you. How can a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed to the word of God. So you gotta always have that word in your heart, because that's gonna cleanse you. And like Justin said, as you start to walk with Christ, as you start to have your walk with him, he's gonna get rid of every single thing that you had a taste for before. He's gonna make you completely new. Because just like when he died and rose again and became new, your old self is going to die away and you're gonna become new with him in your life. And that's how it should be. So it just starts with a desire in your heart to really change, right? To be different. And if you're watching this right now, you're watching this for a reason, right? So it just starts with a simple decision, simple prayer to God, like, show up in my life. I want you to show up in my life like you never shown up before. I want to know you more. I want to truly walk with you. I feel like in our generation, right?
The important thing they say is to be different. Like, everybody's doing the same thing. You see it on Instagram, you see it. Everybody's doing the same exact thing. Walk a different life and see different blessings. That like, there's things like that we'll end up talking about on the podcast that only come from heaven, only happen from heaven. Like, it doesn't happen from anything natural. Everything is spiritual. And you gotta understand that God gives you think the devil blesses people, they got all this money, all these different types of things. God does 10 times that. 10 times that if you're walking in the way that you should be walking.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot right there. But yeah, like I said, like, we're gonna be doing this every single week. We'll have, episode dropping for y'all. Just comment what y'all would like us to go over. We definitely appreciate y'all watching this. All glory to God, because that's really who deserves the glory, right? For you're gonna, hear more about our testimonials, things that we went through, the kingdom mindset, everything that's happening in our lives.
And we're gonna break down too, like, how to get over, like, things that we actually struggle with in our generation. We're young, like, and even it's like even weird to, like, even when we went to Atlanta, like, some of the pastors, we'll talk about that too, but some of the pastors like wow, like, you guys are really young and you guys have, like, a face for God, and they were, like, kind of, like, blown, like, kind of back by it. And they were like, we usually have people who are older, like, who are looking, like, to become, like, to start their walk with God, but you guys are what, 20 to 23 years old, and you guys are trying to do this. Like, that's not seen, and God honors that. There's going to be a lot of blessings that happen, like, very soon and way down the road, just because we're walking a different type of life. So
don't feel bad, like Justin was saying before, don't feel bad if you feel different or you feel set apart. you know, from the world and you're trying to do different, a lot of people will try to persecute you for that. But just know that Jesus went through the same thing. He already conquered the world. So we got that same authority, that same right to do the same exact thing. And so many blessings are going to come from it. Y'all just don't see it now. It takes time to manifest in the natural. Well, appreciate y'all for watching this. Definitely tune in, you know, when we drop more episodes. And as always, stay confident. We'll see y'all later.